Okay, actual starting. It's like, hello. This is for this month's edition of the Sensibility Podcast. I'm Michelle. I'm doing the interview today, and we have Paris, and we are going to be talking about sounder sleep system and the Feldenkrais method and how it all connects and all that fun stuff. So, Paris, can you give us a little rundown of who you are?
Well,
And
I'm Paris Kern. I'm a Feldenkrais trainer and have been doing the Feldenkrais method, practicing as a practitioner for over 30 years now. And it's a long time now. Over 20 years ago, Michael Krugman developed the sounder sleep system, which is a child of the Feldenkrais method, I like to say. And I've been a practitioner of that for many years as well.
awesome. So it's a child of the Feldenkrais method. Can you go a little more about how that came about? Do you know? Or
Yes, I can tell you as a brief history here. Michael Krugman was a Feldenkrais practitioner, and he had insomnia for a long time, and he wondered what was going on with his insomnia, and he remembered that he always tended to fall asleep during certain awareness through movement lessons. And he was like, why is this going on? And he kind of filed that back in his mind, but he never did anything with it. And then he suffered a particularly bad bout of insomnia. And in his seeking some sort of thing to help himself, he started doing the dominant hand or the bell hand movement. Some people know it as, which is a classic Feldenkrais lesson. And he fell right asleep. Did it again a few more times, fell right asleep in the middle of the night after waking up and having all those thoughts stirring through his brain. And then he started playing around with it a little bit more. And eventually he did much research into why these micro movements, whether it's fine motor movements or gross motor movements, why micro movements coupled with the breath have an inhibitory effect on the brain, which allows it to organize for sleep. Because sleep is another organization that we have to do. It's a learned organization. Babies learn how to sleep, and there's a lot of that goes into it.
Awesome. Can you go more into the learned organization of sleep? That's like,
So when I'll just talk about the Feldenkrais method first.
yeah.
In Feldenkrais, what we're learning to do is organize ourselves for action. And what organizes us is the nervous system, the brain. When we're born, we're completely spastic, and that's normal for a newborn. Everything is firing all the time. Everything is in an excitatory stage. So the brain is just firing, 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 firing. As we organize for volitional movement, we learn to inhibit the random neural firings so we can just get the Cheerio to our mouth, not to our hair, not to the dog, not over there, but where we want it. And this simple movement requires inhibiting all the other movements that get in the way. The brain, in order to fall asleep, has to inhibit a lot of other functions to allow the brain to fall asleep. And that's the relationship between what we have come to understand through neurology and the Feldenkrais method and what we know about sleep now. Sleep is the cessation of this excitatory process. It's bringing forth the inhibitory process, organizing the brain to fall asleep.
Which is the hardest part.
Which is the hardest part. And we cannot make ourselves fall asleep. And what we say a lot in the sounder sleep system is that just bring yourself to the shores of sleep, get everything ready, and sleep will come. You can't make yourself fall asleep. It's an oxymoron.
I would agree with that. You cannot.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then it's like, I guess I also wanted to touch on why sleep is important before we go into the details of.
Okay, why is sleep important? Well, I think everybody intrinsically knows when they don't get enough sleep, how crappy they feel.
Right.
The interesting thing about sleep from an evolutionary perspective, if you think of all animals, all animals sleep. Now, sleep is a very vulnerable place, right? It's like it doesn't serve an evolutionary procreation, organizational survival mode, because that's when you're vulnerable. So it must be very, very important for evolution to have required sleep as part of the program of being a living animal, right? When we don't sleep, things don't work. We don't think clearly. We don't have the energy. Our health and digestion suffer. Everything suffers. And when we get good sleep, we can heal and recuperate. And one of the things that's very cool about the new research about sleep is one of the things that happens when we sleep is it's like the brain has like a washing machine that goes through and gets rid of all the buildup of toxicities and other gludge in the brain, so the brain can be clean and well functioning for the next waking period.
Mm.
And one of the problems in our society, in modern Western culture, and unfortunately the culture of all industrialized nations, is sleep has been relegated to it also. Yeah, we need sleep. And there's been this sort of machismo around, oh, I only need 4 hours of sleep a night. Those are the people who are falling asleep behind the wheel and killing more people than drunk drivers. More people are killed by sleeping drivers than by drunk drivers. And just think about that for a moment, because that is a really preventable thing.
Yeah.
Really preventable. And many people will go through different periods of their life of having poor sleep. But one of the things that we teach in the Sound of Sleep is a lot of the mythology around sleep. Like you're supposed to sleep this chunk of time and only this chunk of time and only do it this way and only do it that way. We dispel a lot of those myths and misinterpretations of how it is we sleep, because a natural sleep should be a normal, healthy adult needs between 8 and 10 hours. We can get away with 7 to 8 hours. We can use 10 hours. And our ancestors usually did have about that, 10 hours. They also did not have it in one chunk between after the evening news and the alarm clock. And we think we have to segment our sleep into this one period. And the natural rhythm of sleep is a 4-hour cycle. And within the 4-hour cycle, we have 90-minute to 120-minute cycles of up and down and up and down. And a good sleeper will go through these cycles and slightly wake up and fall asleep, and slightly wake up and fall asleep. The poor sleeper or the anxious person will wake up and go, oh, expletive word, I can't fall asleep. And as soon as you do that, you've heightened the nervous system. You've gone into what we call a sympathetic flight or fight state. And the brain's going to say, okay, the tiger's coming. I'm not going to fall asleep now. And what we do with the Sound of Sleep system is we help you learn how to reverse that. And it's mostly done during the day. This is the interesting thing.
Oh, interesting. You don't have to do it during that moment where you're like, gosh darn it, I'm awake.
Well, you can do it then, but the big change happens during the day, because we're all at such a high cortisol level that we've normalized having our stress hormones up around here. And we think this is normal.
Right.
It's not. Again, from an evolutionary perspective that we understand because of our Feldenkrais training, this flight or fight sympathetic state is great when the tiger is coming. And that's not a long period of time. The tiger comes, you either kill the tiger eats you, it's all over. Right? Or you flee and it's over. But every time we get cut off on the highway, every time the phone rings, every time we're waiting for a response on one of these things, it's just spiking that cortisol over and over and over and over again until it's up here. And we need to take that down throughout the day. So at night, we're ready to go to sleep.
Like how the apps have shorter and shorter time frame for you to watch things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk a little more about the during the day, because that's actually.
So Michael Krugman, who is the Feldenkrais practitioner who developed this, had a way of saying how the way the day goes is how the night will be. So the calmer your day, the calmer your night, and your night will be. And many people realize, they go on vacation.
Mhm.
Maybe after a day or two or three, it might take, all of a sudden they're starting to sleep much better. Why is that? Because they're not constantly getting into this excitatory mode. So when we teach the sound asleep system, we teach people these mini movements, and I'll be doing a demonstration later of these small little things that you do for brief moments of time throughout the day to take you back down into a calm state. And if you do these a minimum of 3 minutes 3 times a day, you'll already start to feel a difference. Now, it's a little bit more elaborate to do a full immersion or a training or a workshop to really shift things around for people, especially if they've had insomnia for many, many years or they're particularly anxious. So you do these little movements, and then you just feel the difference. And then when you have an anxious moment, you just do the movements again, and you bring yourself back down. You bring yourself back down. A lot of people use these movements in other situations in life, like people who can't get an MRI because they have claustrophobia. I've taught this to people in that situation. They do the movements, they can tolerate it. The dentist, they do the movements, they don't have a panic attack. My own son, when he was right in that horrible state of freshman year of college, started having panic attacks. He had 1.5 panic attacks. This half one, I talked him down over the phone. Third one, he came home and I took him through some sound asleep stuff, and it stopped the panic attack. And he's never had one since. Because again, as a Feldenkrais practitioner, our brain learns how to do things, and it has to learn how to do a panic attack too. And once it learns how to do a good panic attack, it's going to go there all the time. But if you can interrupt that process, interrupt the process of anxiety, which is the primary reason for insomnia. Anxiety and stress is the primary reason. There are medical reasons. For instance, if somebody's had a brain injury of some sort, that can mess things up. Or with many women who come to me, hot flashes can mess it up. Or people who have to get up during the night to use the restroom, that can mess it up. But a good sleeper can wake up, go to the bathroom, come back, go right back to sleep, because it's not a big deal. And with something like hot flashes, when you sleep better, it takes more of a hot flash to wake you up. You can sleep through the hot flashes. It's just like when you can't sleep well, that little of the clock will keep you awake. But if you sleep well, it's no big deal.
Right, like if someone snoring nearby, maybe also.
Oh yes, the snorer, yes. I have to work with that a lot. And then there's people who sleep with 3 or 4 cats or dogs on the bed, and I'm like, I can only do so much.
What about sleep apnea? People that have to wear
well, again, the sleep, it doesn't deal with the actual sleep apnea. That's a whole other thing that I'm also a singer, so I know about the whole larynx and everything. It can help you tolerate the sleep apnea machinery.
Yeah.
But if you want to deal with sleep apnea directly, I can have recommendations for that as well.
Yeah. But maybe it would help the partner sleeping next to the noise also, I would guess.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is, until really the last few hundred years, people didn't sleep alone, especially babies. Don't get me started on that. People didn't sleep alone. People slept in clusters of people. And there was always the night watchman. Somebody would be awake watching for the tiger so everybody else could sleep. And then that person would get drowsy and somebody else would wake up and, they'd want to get a snack and they'd keep an eye out for the tiger. and then they'd go to sleep. And people would wake up in the middle of the night and stay awake for a few hours, have a conversation, make love, get a snack, daydream, write poetry.
Do something you needed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is for creatives, this is a very, very potent time as well. This time between 2 and 4 in the morning, they would wake up and all sorts of inspiration comes in those quiet hours.
Right.
So the sleep that we need, this 8 to 10 hours, as long as it happens within a 24-hour period, we're cool.
Like
it doesn't have to be just at night.
The historical geniuses you hear about that would sleep at random throughout the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's this, again, I don't know if you want to keep this in the interview or just put it in the publicity, but I'd like to read this quote from Moshe Feldenkrais, since it's a sensibility Feldenkrais thing. So he wrote this in The Potent Self, which is one of Feldenkrais's books. Reversibility is a feature of all correct action, even sleep. Thus, the well-coordinated, mature person, such as found among people who have succeeded in making their occupation their pleasure, can go off to sleep when he feels like it and wake up when necessary. Moreover, all healthy animals and humans, we're just animals, do not object to be woken up, as they can stop sleeping and resume sleeping without trouble. The ability to stop an action, a process, and restart it, reverse it, or drop it altogether is one of the finer criteria of proper acture, which is another word for organization.
I like that. Yeah.
We just see sleep no differently than we see bringing the arm behind the head. It's an action that we all need to learn how to do and improve it.
Which, yeah, we are not taught to sleep very well, are we?
Well, we're not left to sleep. First, it's something that we need to learn on our own, given an environment that's safe.
Right.
Given an environment safe. But then when we're infants who are very, very vulnerable and they cannot take care of themselves, are forced to sleep alone. Sorry if I'm offending any moms out there or dads. It's not natural. Who would put a helpless thing alone? They just don't do that. And so then there's a whole anxiety around that and a whole sort of learning that I can't imagine is really helpful to just learning how, like, oh, here I am. Oh, I'm drowsy. Boom, going to sleep. It's like, where is mom? Where is dad? Where is my safety? Oh, I got to sleep and I'm just so exhausted. Yes, I'll fall asleep. But there's always this, I wonder how well they're actually sleeping. So who knows?
A good question.
Yeah, those studies haven't been done relating people with sleep issues to how they were as infants.
There's a lot of studies that need to happen on a lot of things.
This is true. This is true.
Let's see then. I think you already slightly covered it, but I was interested if for people that have anxiety during the day or just dealing with life is too much, and how learning a few movements could help break the habit of anxiety and break them out of it and function.
I would say do this lesson that we're going to start in a few minutes and take stock of your thoughts, your feelings, those little negative feelings that go on in your mind and your breath, and see if you don't feel a little bit better after 15 or 20 minutes, however long we go, because that's where you're going to go, oh, and what you're feeling when you feel better and when your brain isn't racing and feeling so anxious is you're in a parasympathetic state. And the first thing that has to happen for you to not feel anxious is you have to not be in a flight or fight mode. And as Moshe Feldenkrais discovered, it is through the movements and how we are in our bodies that creates a state of mind of one way or the other. If I If I put myself like this and I start talking, you can hear my voice getting, and if I just sat like this for a while, I would probably start to feel not so great about things. Not so great. I'd start to, all these things would be saying, oh, we're anxious. We're not so good. But oof, I open my chest. I relax my shoulders and neck. My brain goes, oh, there's no tiger coming. Maybe life isn't so bad. And for those of you out there who have experienced just an awareness from movement lesson or had a private functional integration Feldenkrais lesson, you realize that, yeah, I went in because my shoulder hurt, but I feel kind of nice about life right now. How did that happen? Because there is no difference. There is no separation of the mind and the body. The whole idea of talking about the mind and the body is cuckoo. There's just a person.
Right.
There's just a person. And we can't touch the brain except with our hands touching the body and then talking to the brain like that.
Mm-hmm. Tapping into that whole nervous system, fun stuff.
Yeah. It's all about the nervous system. It's all about the brain.
Yeah, I don't think I need to touch a brain, but we are good on that.
Yeah. Oh, but the thing is I do advanced trainings for Feldenkrais practitioners, and the title of a lot of my workshops is called Brain Handles.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I touch here, it's a handle. It's a handle. My brain's reacting to what's going on here or wherever. And you, as a practitioner, if you touch in this place, you're going to get this kind of response in the breath. You touch here, you're going to get that kind of response in the spine. And that's all going straight to the organizer in our brain.
Like when everyone's a little kid and you play the game of just lightly touching someone to pretend it's an egg or something.
Yeah.
Egg games.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, would you like to do your demonstration?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
I'm going to make Paris bigger. I'll just be in the background, but that way everyone can see what she's actually doing.
The eyes will be closed a lot of the time though, so.
Okay.
Okay, so you just tell me when to start.
Go ahead. I think we're good.
Okay. So this is one of the mini movements to practice during the day. It can also be used at night, and it's called the depth. And this is something one of the movements Michael developed about 20 years ago. There are dozens of mini moves that we teach. Some of them are more appropriate for the day when you're sitting in a chair. Some of them are more appropriate in the middle of the night to bring yourself back to sleep. And some are for in between, just to get things calmed down in a different way. So we're going to use the center of your palm as the focusing point on this, and your thumb. So I'll talk about how we're going to do that in a moment. But the center of the palm is considered a very potent point in many, many systems. It's represented in spiritual practices as a point between humanity and the cosmos. Doesn't matter if you believe that or not. It does matter that you understand that neurologically, this is a very sensitive place. And the thumb and the fingers and the lips and the tongue, which we're not going to do today, but the thumb has a lot of real estate across the brain. So anything that the thumb is involved in is going to have a very large effect on your whole system, because your brain is, of course, managing every aspect of yourself, from how much hormones are getting pumped into your bloodstream to the rate of your breath and your heart and everything else. And if you practice this throughout the day, things will become a little calmer, your creativity will flourish, you might be happy, you might be more energetic, things will just be a little bit better. So to begin, just take a chair and make sure that you're sitting upright on the front half of the chair, if you can, with your feet flat on the floor. If this is not comfortable, by all means, lean on the back of the chair. Or if you wish to do this lying on your back, you can lie on your back and put your hands on your chest like this. Whichever way you like. The most important thing, just like with Feldenkrais, is only do what's easy and comfortable. This is really, really important. And the movements you're going to do now are so unimaginably small that if you're thinking it's like awareness for movement, you're thinking way too big. And you may know that a lot of the things we do in awareness for movement are very small. So this is even smaller. So please put both of your hands in your lap. You may want to have a pillow in your lap as well. So if you need to pause this and go get a pillow so your hands are comfortable in your lap, please do so. So you'll have both of your hands in your lap with your palms up. I'm just bringing my hands here so you can see them. And then put one hand under the other, doesn't matter which one. And then the hand that's under, you take that thumb and you just put the pad of the thumb in the center of the palm, just like so. And you lay your hands easily on your lap or on a pillow in your lap. You can do either hand. You're not going to do both hands. You just do whatever comes easiest. Whatever is easiest and most natural just for you. And now explore a little with your thumb, looking for the most soft, receptive spot. It might be 1/8 of an inch this way or that way, or this way or that way, but just find this place where the thumb just nestles in your palm so easily. That's the depth of your palm. And if you're not sure where that is, just find a nice spot and stick to it. You can't go wrong with this. You just can't go wrong. And now just close your eyes and notice what sort of sensations can you feel in your palm. Are you feeling your palm or are you feeling your thumb? There's no need to press or to squeeze. You're not doing anything at all right now. You're just letting your breath be light and easy. And you have some contact between your thumb and the center of your palm. You might feel warmth or coolness or a neutral temperature. Maybe you feel a slight pulsation or a tingling or anything else. Any physical sensation you feel that's unique and personal to you is fine. And don't try and breathe in any particular way. One of the basic things we teach in the Sounder Sleep System is just the awareness of your natural breath. Don't breathe deep or in any particular way. In fact, deep breathing actually increases the stress. But just calmly inhale, calmly exhale, taking whatever time you need for each breath. And continue to sit quietly, breathing easily, touching the center of your palm with your thumb. Notice when you breathe in and when you breathe out. And the next time you start to exhale, very gently and gradually press your thumb into the center of your palm, into that depth, very, very lightly. And you keep doing this light pressing as long as your exhalation lasts. And then allow for any pause at the end of your exhalation that you might have, if there is one. And then whenever you're ready to begin to breathe in, you gradually relax your thumb and cease the pressure, but you keep the contact of the thumb and the palm. And do this a few times. You exhale, press the thumb into the palm, inhale, relax that pressure. And synchronize the pressing with the rhythm of your breath. That means however long it takes you to inhale, or exhale, sorry. However long it takes you to exhale, you use that whole time to gradually, gradually, gradually increase the pressure of your thumb. And then however long it takes to inhale, you use that whole inhalation to gradually relax your thumb. When you exhale and apply that gentle pressure with your thumb, you'll feel the skin and the underlying tissues of the palm being gradually compressed. When you inhale and relax your thumb, you feel the palm gradually expand. Directing your attention to the cessation of that gentle, alternating compression and expansion enables you to synchronize the fast, irregular rhythms of your mind with the slower, more predictable rhythms of your breath. Cultivating this environment internally gives you a little oasis of tranquility inside yourself, a place you can retreat to anytime you need the respite from the stress of life. The whole world may be hurried, worried, and hurried, but you don't have to be. And now, keeping your hands joined like this, stop and rest for a moment, for several breath cycles, and feel the result of what you've done. Notice the sensation there at the point of contact between your thumb and the palm. Notice any changes in the rhythm or pattern of your breath, in your mood, or any other aspect of yourself. And rest quietly like this for a few more moments, a few more breaths. From time to time, you might notice that your mind is captured by thoughts or feelings or images that come and go. Don't be concerned. Minds wander. Whenever you want, whenever you feel like you want to focus again on this calm, you just come back to paying attention to your natural breathing, not breathing in any particular way, just allowing the air to arrive as you inhale and leave as you exhale. And you do another round of movements. So you exhale, you press into the depth, you inhale, release, exhale, press into the depth, inhale, release. Do 3 or 4 more movements, followed by 3 or 4 more breaths without movement. And then repeat. Eventually, the rests without movement become longer and longer. And you can linger in this restful, meditative state. And in this state, you recover. Your mind recovers, your body recovers from the stress of life. So now do another round, but this time, reduce the effort of the pressure even more. However gently you did it before, do half that much, or even just in your imagination. Each time you gradually allow the breath to leave and exhale, you very, very gently press your thumb into the palm. Barely doing it. Anyone looking at your hands would not know you're doing anything. And each time you exhale or inhale, you relax the thumb. You exhale, you press. You inhale, relax. Exhale and press. Inhale, relax. These tiny, tiny movements, this tiny stimulation to the nerves in the depth of your palm and the nerves in your thumb produce very pleasurable sensations. When the pressure is a little more firm, those pleasurable sensations just stay in the palm, in your hand only. But when the pressure is exquisitely delicate, just at the threshold of what you can feel, you find the sensations migrate beyond your hands into your whole self. And now rest for 3 or 4 breaths. Feel if your breath has changed in some way. If you feel like lying down and going to sleep now, please do so. Or if you're still curious and you want to get into a more deep and tranquil state, do a few more movements, reducing the effort even further. What is the smallest, tiniest, gentle movement you can do with your thumb? And how does that affect what you experience, what you feel as you do with movement? As you practice this and do other sound asleep system techniques, you'll find you can produce exactly the kind of experience you want to have. Whether it's with the depth or one of the many other movements you can learn. And now, to conclude, just very, very gradually, molecule by molecule, separate your hands and let them rest in your lap. And just feel any sensations that are pleasant anywhere in yourself. And you can go back into your daily life, or maybe it's time for a nap, or maybe it's time for bed, whatever you wish. The main thing with the sound asleep system is that you practice these things during the day, and only after you're fluent in the process do you use it at night. But have a sweet sleep whenever you do get there. And now I have to wake up my interviewer.
I'm good. Let me do the remove pen. All right. That was fun. There's some follow-up questions that came out of that. I was thinking of people that work like standing shift jobs and things. They could do it on like a 10-minute break. It's like, could you do it standing? Do you have to be sitting?
There are standing movements. We have movements done in all positions, lying down, sitting and leaning, sitting on the floor, standing movements. Yes. My son, the one who had the panic attacks many, many years ago, is now a firefighter, and he does shift work.
Yeah.
And you can imagine that is pretty stressful a lot of the times, but he sleeps fine. Shift work is a specifically difficult thing.
Yeah.
Shift work back and forth. But for people that are standing, well, standing is better than sitting all day. You got that going for you. Everybody knows that sitting is the new smoking, right? But you don't, 10 minutes in the beginning, but once you have done these practices for a little while, and not just a few weeks, there's a Pavlovian response. So now when I do it, for instance, as soon as I put my hands into another one, which is called the secret handshake, which is like this, as soon as I do that, I just feel my whole nervous system go, oh, we're going to behave and be nice and calm now.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if because I have some Feldenkrais lessons that I use for like performance prep, where I just do a couple little bits and I'm like, okay, you remember your body posture, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. Once it's there, you just have to open up the right application in your brain.
Yeah, that like, does it get easier? That question, I guess.
Yes, it gets much, much easier. And depending on the depth of the insomnia or the issues, sometimes, I've taught this at the dinner table to friends, and that's all they needed. Other people need more intensive practice. It depends on everything else in life.
Yeah, each person is a special snowflake of their own.
Yes.
Awesome. That was lovely. Would you like to tell everyone where they can find you, or you've got some upcoming workshops, I think?
Sure. So pariskern.com, that's my website. You can find me through that, and you can email me at, I think there's a contact button there, but it's pariskern@comcast.net, everything little letters. And I have a teacher training that I'm actually doing for Ukraine starting in 2.5 weeks on May 6th. And it's going to be taught in English because I do not speak Ukrainian, and we will have a Ukrainian translator for the Ukrainians, but it's open to anybody who speaks English or Ukrainian. And it would be wonderful to have some Westerners in the training as well to help support the Ukrainians.
Mm-hmm.
The first module in May can be done as a standalone workshop immersion, which is a nice way to shift things around, and all that information is on my website as well.
Yeah.
And I'm available for, personal consults, and I am portable, so I will travel to places to teach workshops as well if one's interested.
Portability is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed our sensibility video podcast. And then, yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.